All right, we're live, baby.
All right.
How are you, young man?
I'm doing pretty good, man. We got to talk about something, man.
What we got to talk about today?
Talk about this executive order on crypto, man.
All right, now let's talk about it. What you think? What are your thoughts?
Man, let's see what he talking about first. My initial thought when I hear executive order on something that's decentralized and supposed to be, supposed to be for us and
Uh-huh.
allow us to, to wiggle through everything. I'm trying to see what they're trying to do. So,
So I'll tell you a couple things. My take on it. One, it's very interesting. First and foremost, let's talk about the positive spin, right? So here, CoinDesk, which we all know CoinDesk, um, they say that the executive order is met with relief from industry players. It's perceived as a step in the right direction towards an industry that needs regulatory clarity, right? And so that's the positive thing. And what I'm gathering from this is, in fact, is that they're saying because of Russia and Russia circumventing, right, like in terms of the regulations and
mhm.
stopping the money flow, right? So we put all these sanctions on Russia that they're bypassing that using crypto. So the
Yep.
government is using that to regulate it, right? And so that's the positive, I guess, spin. And I say positive because it's only positive if you, in fact, are an American, right? So as an American or as someone that is against the war, then you see that as positive, right? Because that's our perspective. But I like to look at things from everyone's perspective. Like you said, isn't the idea of crypto to be decentralized, right? Like you said, so that someone could not come in and take your freedoms, so to speak,
Right. Right.
regardless of whether you're doing good or bad. Is it like I thought the whole idea of America and freedom of speech was so that you could do things, right, and not be like imprisoned or jailed or you should have freedom of speech. That's what I thought.
Right. So
So
yeah, I mean,
we get
yeah.
to pick what's right and what's wrong.
So the order that they signing is basically, I guess, to give government agencies to start the research on it. It's not actually saying it's not giving and it's not putting any laws into effect, is what it sounds like.
No, right, but well, where does it lead to? Where does that lead to next?
Oh, I mean, yeah, they're coming, right? Yeah. Yeah. So now I just, because sometimes we hear like, oh, executive order is being signed, so I guess they're going to stop it. No, this is literally given the power for the other government agencies to come up with a report and bring it to the table on how they're going to regulate it.
And so let me say again, like I said, that's the first, like that's the positive spin. The bigger issue that I take is this, right? What they're saying is exploring the possibility of a government-backed currency. That's where I see there's going to be some issues at. And I think that the bigger problem that's happening that the government's not talking about is the same thing that was discussed, you know, and I'll pull this up. The same thing that they talked about here in this book, The Dollar Crisis. So we had the same, this is not the first time we've seen this. And before this came out, this executive order, I have a buddy of mine who I respect highly in the government and he's worked overseas. And so he's been telling me, right, that he said that he hopped on a Bitcoin train in 2015 when he was deployed. I'm not going to say where. Uh, and that's what freed him to get out and out of the service and start working. And he thinks that it's smart that businesses are going to hedge the inflation with crypto and that those are the only people that are going to survive. Hold on. This has big implications for the government. As the dollar fails, all of the government contracted employees are going to become disgruntled as their salaries will be eaten alive by inflation. It also doesn't make sense to go through a 1 year proposal process when the currency will have lost 50% of its value and the requirement will have to be recomputed to increase the dollar ceiling It won't keep up. The process is too slow. Now, I'm a government contractor. Today, we cannot keep our prices, honor our prices for any bid longer than 30 days.
And why is it?
The cost of materials is going through the roof.
So
So
you put a proposal in, and then they push it back. Let's just say, okay, hey, they need an extension to say when this is going to be awarded. They push it back 2 months. The proposal that you originally put in now has to be
so good. We can't honor. We cannot honor a 2-month contract because the price of everything is skyrocketed. So what I'm saying is this. Let me go a little bit further.
I can see that in Home Depot. I go in Home Depot and wood and and I'm like, but hold on, look. How do you go up on the same wood that was here yesterday? It's not a new batch of wood. I can understand if it was a new batch of, some new lumber, some new stuff. This is the same stuff that was just in there last night. They got the news and was like, yeah, we need to up this.
So this is what happens. He says, now, Eric, you're going to see prices skyrocket, which starts to screw things up. Remember, the government works for dollars that are about to evaporate in front of our eyes. So now what's happening is the same thing that happened, Justin, here. Same thing that this book said, the dollar crisis. This was not like
it's not new,
bro. This happened.
So for people that don't know, what happened? Like, get a gist of the dollar crisis.
So the dollar crisis says, okay, that we had, and I'll go back. I'll read it. So we had what was called the Bretton Woods system, right, which was a close substitute for what was the gold standard. And that Bretton Woods system created a fixed exchange rate between the US dollar, which was pegged to gold at $35 an ounce, right? So we used to have gold that was like, okay, this is what gold's worth this much. This is how much your currency is worth against gold. They worked for 20 years. And then in the 1960s, it came under strain as the U.S. corporations overseas started expanding military operations in Vietnam, and it contributed to the deterioration of the balance of payments. And so other countries found themselves holding our dollars, and they wanted to exchange it for gold. But we didn't have that much gold to give them.
Right.
So what happened was, initially there was little concern because the amounts were small. But then the second half of the 1960s, it began to cause unease in Washington. And by 1971, the trickle of gold leaving Fort Knox had become a torrent, which means it had just become rampant. So people are literally saying, we want our gold, we want our gold. Right? So now, in August of that year, President Nixon, this is 1970s. I was born in 78. This is not.
You telling everybody.
So I ain't no good female. I'm not afraid of my age. I'm proud of my age.
We ain't like that, right?
So hold on. So then Nixon suspended the convertibility of dollars into gold, and then he made it free float against just a random currency. And so that's why we were able to trade money willy-nilly. But this is the same situation that other people have done, right? So basically what happened was the dollar became worthless. And so the only way to make people believe in the dollar again was to unpeg it from gold and allow it to free float against other currencies. And that's what we've been doing for this most recent 40 years.
And so it seems like this is going to, because this is happening again, we're going to have to.
We have to decouple, right? We have to depeg the dollar,
right?
That whatever the standard is today, and peg it to a new standard.
To a new standard.
Which means basically we're printing money. So my concern with all of this is that the government issuing a currency, it's not just that the price.
Real quick, when you say the government issuing a currency, you're talking about issuing a cryptocurrency or
making their own token.
Right, making their own token. I got you.
So what if they did this, right, as a way to track everyone?
Hey, look, if they did create it, they definitely would be able to track everyone. It would be very easy.
Why? How? Tell me why. How is that fun? Why?
Every transaction is public in, out, swaps, no matter what you do with it, it's trackable and it's very easy and you can see it. So like if I were to send you $100, not only can you see the $100, I can see what you do after that. I can just sit there and we can sit there, come back tomorrow and look at all your transactions after today. And then 2 years from now, I have 2 years of information of everything you did inside your wallet, in and out, where you sent it, how much you sent it, what wallet address did you send it to, what time, what everything. So you're right. They would
That,
definitely be able
that
to easily track.
I think is the bigger concern. I think a lot like people were concerned with COVID and the government coming up with the antivirus with Pfizer and putting needles into folks. I think we need to be just as concerned with this because it seems like everyone says, well, Russia started this war and it's so arbitrary, right? And it's like, why would they do this? And it doesn't make sense. Well, don't we find out, Justin, after the fact, like, okay,
Always.
all the stuff was planned,
Always.
right?
Always.
When they introduced the cocaine and they introduced crack to the black communities, then we found out after the fact that the government was cooperating on that.
Yeah, and at first you would think, look at them, they just out there selling drugs, and you like, but if you really look at it, you're like, well, where did they get them from?
Where do they get the drug? Right? How did a bunch of poor people get get drugs brought into their community?
And who is sitting around thinking like, okay, so we're gonna put this together to this, and then we're gonna make that, then we're gonna be able to. No one's doing that, right? Man.
So for me, I think the heavy load is right when everyone on TV, all the news people are saying we can't make sense of this Russian thing. Like why would Putin attack Ukraine? Well, what if he was incentivized to attack Ukraine? I mean, look, Ukraine for all intents and purposes is not part of NATO, and so Ukraine, we no other European nations are allowed to go in and fight for Ukraine.
Right.
I'm not NATO. What is it? What is the thing they're supposed to be part of?
Basically saying that they're free floating.
Yeah, they're free floating, and so no one could go in there and protect them. Yeah, it's NATO. So hold on, let me share this.
Yeah, but if we don't know, somebody should say it. Every time we hear about it, it's already been. There's already was a plan. What's going to happen after? What's the next steps? And so when we hear about it, it's news to us.
Right. Right. And by the way, if you're watching this now or late in the future, drop in there your thoughts. I want to hear, what your thoughts are on the matter because and again, I'm not saying I have anything to hide, but I think there's a lot of other people that want to fight for their freedoms and not be tracked on every transaction they do. So I'm not saying this for myself individually. I'm saying this because if people are so adamant about their rights in terms of like the virus and vaccines, what are you going to talk about when it comes to your rights on every single transaction you do? Period. Like just period. Like
Period.
Period. Like every transaction you do. Like how are they going to feel about that? And so I think that to me is the bigger issue that a lot of people are not talking about and they're not saying. And when I read these folks, right, it's saying, okay, here, crypto-related companies and funds jump up to Biden's executive order, which is great for us, right? I mean, that's I'm happy to hear that, but I still think that they're making that correlation kind of. It's almost premeditated, not premeditated. It's too early on to make this correlation because for the last 3 months, crypto's been bleeding. So for it to jump, it doesn't have to be necessarily connected to this. Does that make sense, Joseph?
Sure.
Like crypto's been down for 2 months straight now, right? So for it to make a 10% jump, it didn't go back to where it was at 2 months ago.
No.
Ethereum is down. Yeah. They're projecting Ethereum was to be like yesterday. I was watching.
I think it's 2,700 right now.
Okay, but yesterday it's off its high, and then off even like earlier this year was at 3,300. So it's still down 400 or 500 points from what it
Oh
was at.
no, it is down much further because
So
it was
it,
tapping 2,000.
it's just, to me, it's someone trying to make a connection between things that are not connected.
Yeah, so if you care about this stuff, it's not just we definitely shouldn't brush this under the rug and think, you know, nothing I can do about it. So let me ask you this: what can people do about it? Well,
Well,
what do you think? What do
what
you
I
think
think,
people
what
can
I
do?
think people, what I think that folks should be concerned about and what they should do, because obviously it's really difficult to stop the government from anything that they haven't planned. Um, what I think people should do is first and foremost they need to learn about this marketplace, because the only way to hedge yourself and your family against this dollar that's basically becoming worthless is to first learn about the place where the money's headed, right? So you got like one of the things that I go back to Warren Buffett. I really love what Warren Buffett said, which is if he had been born in any other era, he wouldn't be a billionaire. He'd be broke because in the previous eras, you used your hands and you used your brawn and your muscle
Mhm.
to produce, right? You were farmers and there was no machines. He was born in a time where the financial markets were the engine that like kind of powered the industry. And so that's where his strengths were. My belief for the next group of folks that understand NFTs, crypto, Web3, they're going to be able to basically insulate themselves and their family from this evaporating dollar.
Right.
And again, we're putting it off as it's the rising in prices, as opposed to what it really is the drop in the dollar. It's not like it sounds nice.
That's two totally different things. Yeah. So
It
it's,
sounds
it's
nice. It's
okay. I see. Yeah.
prices as opposed to the drop in the dollar.
And let me say
It,
this:
it doesn't create as much fear.
you can already see where the dollar is going because 10 years ago, we were well, not even 10 years ago. People we still cashing checks and stuff. But right now, I don't have any physical dollar on me, and most people are not carrying around the physical dollar. Now, some of my people, we put stuff in that Nike shoebox. We ain't putting it in the bank.
And guess
But
what? You know what happens? If you put a 10,000 in your Nike shoe box, it's now worth 8.
hey, but I still got it. That's how we look at it. That's how some of us look at it.
No. I'm not saying you're wrong. What I'm saying is that, and again, anybody in here who puts their money in a shoebox or have family members put their money in a shoebox, drop it in the comments right now and just come up. Like if you or somebody you know puts their money in a shoebox, drop it in the comments.
Hey, now okay, so it ain't got to be a shoebox. It can be anything. It can be in the sock drawer, in
And
the back of the sock drawer, in the corner,
it
you
doesn't
know,
matter. I mean, yes, if you have fiat money, you got paper dollars in a box or in somewhere in your house that's not in the
anywhere outside of the bank.
right. Just go ahead and say yes. Put a thumbs up in the chat, put a plug in the chat. But this is what I want to show you, right? And it's this. Okay. Here, let me show this. Let me bring this back up on the screen and show you guys. So, prospect of soaring gas prices poses a political threat. Record high gas prices. Americans are paying dearly for gas prices. So we've got soaring high gas prices. Hold on. We've got people in Miami scrambling to find affordable rent. Everywhere in this country, they're talking about affordable housing. All right. The prices are double. Double. People are protesting rent, not just like it was in New York at some point. Today, right, people are protesting rent prices. Hold on.
So we used to sing the song "I Got 5 on it," and now we definitely got to put more on it because $5 could get you a long way.
Across the United States with no end in sight. I mean, even where I live in my building, they're not going from 3,000 to like 3,200. They go from
Sheesh.
3,000 to 4,000.
I'm looking at this unit right now from 1550 to 1950. That's
Yeah, no,
400. That's like a $400 jump. And I don't think we're getting raises like that on our job.
Nobody's getting raises like that. So, now, again, and again, we said we weren't going to spend this much time, but again, is it that prices are going up, or is it that the dollar is going down? Because if that's happening across the board with food, fuel, housing, if you look at people's bills, right?
Mm-hmm.
Right? It's your shelter, food.
Utility.
Yeah. So if all those things are now beyond reach, what is that saying? So again, the government, because they never taught us financial system, they never taught us money. We believe they say inflation, right? They do not say devaluation of our currency.
So that need to be a new subject in school, huh? We need to teach that so we can have more financial literate people.
Know that. So what I'm saying is, we go back to this situation here, and we look at, and we're going to close out with this because we want to move on to another topic. And I don't know why computers install all this crap. If we go back to this, your question was to me, what can people do? And I want to summarize with this. People need to essentially take the lead, understand crypto, understand NFTs, understand Web3, understand essentially where all the money people are headed. And so that you can learn that and you can be able to counterbalance the deflationary dollar. Because if you don't do that, then you're going to become basically a ward of the state, right? In so many words. So the way I see it, you're going to basically the government's going to have to end up taking care of you and your family, and you won't be able to take care of yourself.
So the $100 in the bank and the $100 in crypto or our shoebox, it's best to have a little of both. So that way, when that shift does come, you still have something.
I think you have to still have the fiat dollars, because as of today, crypto is still not widely adopted to freely spend as we would like.
Right.
However, that's all changing, because as we see, a lot of places are now adopting crypto. I think California is already adopting crypto.
Hey, look, I didn't even know what fiat was till I started messing with crypto. Okay, so fiat was something new to me when I started messing with crypto. I didn't know it was. That's what I have. I have fiat.
So if you look here, already you've got places like California where they're introducing a law that allows, residents start paying with cryptocurrency. So again, it's already moving in that direction. So in my opinion, the best thing that people could do is learn this today. Not, what the problem is with most of us is we let things happen to us. So we sit back and we wait, and then stuff happens to us when we could have taken upon ourselves to get ahead of these things, right? And learn this, develop the skills, and then we're the ones basically dictating our future and setting the set of the sails of our own ships the way we want it to go, as opposed to just existing and letting the wind take us where the wind takes us and blows us. That makes sense?
Yeah.
And so
reactionary.
We're reactionary. Instead of taking it and saying, look, here's all the indicators, here's all the signs. It's just like when they did the marijuana. Once one state adopted it, all these other states started adopting marijuana, right? But it only became after the government found a way to simply, make money off of it, and also essentially eliminate all of us who've been in the marijuana game but marijuana was legal. And then they took and I know this is moving off topic. You know what? Let's close out this topic, because
look, you about to start.
So again, at the end of the day, in my opinion, everyone needs to learn crypto, learn NFTs, understand it, get ahead of it, figure out how to become an expert in this particular marketplace, and then use that new skill to leverage getting yourself. And I'll say this. A friend of mine said to me last week on a call, $1 million is the new 100,000.
Mm.
$1 million is the new 100,000.
So don't
So,
be reactive, be proactive.
so right now in Miami, you cannot, if you make 50,000 a year, you cannot afford a place to live by yourself. You still need to share apartment with a roommate making 50,000 a year.
I believe most of us, that's how it is. We bunching up.
We are right. So we're bunching up, and so what's happening is, and that is because. So do you want to say that's because prices are rising, or do you want to finally? Does anyone want to admit that the dollar is losing?
Dollar is losing its value. So the wood didn't go up, the dollar went down.
The wood went up in price. Really? Think about how silly that sounds.
Exactly. And that's what I was saying. It never left the store. Like it's the same piece of wood that was in there the day before. Like think about the gas. Like, okay, the gas is $4.30, $4.50.
Right.
Was some of these gas stations got the same $3 gas and they didn't went up.
So Home Depot bought that wood, so they already paid for that wood.
It's already paid for.
How can they charge you more money for wood they already paid for?
They was like, oh, it's going up. Yeah, people know it's flip them prices. They do it as fast as the gas people do. They flip the prices quick. But look, man, it was nice.
Nice catching up. We'll talk about the MetaMask thing and some other stuff and our NFT project on the next go round.
All right.
All right, brother.